So we identify the performance issues of homes as it relates to comfort, efficiency, health, and safety. So we'll go in and identify those high utility bills, uneven temperatures, ice damming, frozen pipes, indoor air quality issues, and then we develop solutions for fixing those things once and for all. And then our second team will come in and we actually make those repairs and then retest after we're done to make sure that we've addressed those problems. Well, I've been in construction my whole life. I went to college for construction management and building science, and after working for some national home builders, I decided I was going to start doing building science and energy audits, and quickly realized that people, you know, they already understand what the problems are. They need solutions, and so that's where we decided we needed to start fixing these problems so they don't continue.
Welcome to the weekend, folks. It's the perfect time to hire it done. My name's Adam Helfman. You're listening to the Hire It Done Radio Network. Saturday, September 22nd. Awesome day. Anyways, we have a great show planned for you this morning. We've got how to save money using science. That's right. Saving money around your house using science. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So in studio, right out of the gates with me this morning, is Alex Van Rijn from Building Performance Solutions. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Adam.
How are you?
Good, great. Yourself?
Busy, I bet.
Absolutely, yep.
That's right. We got the famous Greg Tittle from Tittle Brothers. Forget about the others. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And we got Carrie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Good morning.
We're awesome. Just a great Saturday morning. Glad to have everyone in here, by the way. So let's get right into the content and give everyone some good information. So, Alex, just tell all the audience, you know, for Building Performance Solutions, what you do.
Well, we are a performance contractor, so we come in and identify the performance issues as it relates to comfort, efficiency, and health and safety of a structure, whether it be residential, commercial, industrial. We'll come in, identify those problems, and then develop solutions for fixing them once and for all.
So, in layman's terms, for all the homeowners, if you've got a cold, drafty home, and you want to stop that, and you actually want to save money, Alex is your guy.
Yeah, symptoms: ice damming, high utility bills, uneven temperatures, frozen pipes, indoor air quality issues, mold issues, ice damming. I mean, any performance issue. That's we use science, we use diagnostics equipment to identify those problems. And then in new construction, you know, we understand what the failures are of construction, and we can take, you know, a blank slate and develop, you know, assemblies and materials and processes to make sure that those structures don't go in that same direction.
Which is the best way to do it. Yeah. Alex, so now you've been on roofs. You know, that's a big part of heat loss because warm air travels towards cold, correct? Mm-hmm. So for what we're talking about on the fall checklist, just on the outside of your house, besides the roof and what Greg says, what are some of the other areas homeowners should be looking for? Maybe caulking penetrations or spigots coming out of the house. Where is there heat loss that is so obvious that we need to remind the listener this morning?
Yeah, gaps, cracks, and penetrations from the exterior. The hose bibs that penetrate through the house. You know, you want to look to see if there's any separation there. Where your foundation and your wood framing or the exterior walls meet. That's
the bond plate.
Yeah, the bond plate or rim joist. Yeah, that's an area where there's a ton of air leakage coming through. Also, insects, rodents, dust, all that stuff comes in through that assembly too.
And if you see, and this is what I, you know, want to make sure, you know, someone has recently put a new high efficiency furnace in, they drill holes through the side of the house, and you see the white PVC pipes coming through. If they don't seal around those, that's a huge air loss problem as well.
Absolutely.
What about in soffits, the soffit vents where you see a bunch of cobwebs and stuff? Isn't that indication that there's air movement?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's also indication that there may be some blockage too. You know, if there's
really?
Yeah, because you know we're trying to get air to flow up into the attic through the soffit venting. It's critical when you use a vapor permeable products like cellulose and cotton and fiberglass, things like that. You need to ventilate attics to get rid of moisture that builds up in them. Directly contributes to ice damming and things like that. So making sure that ventilation is free and clear is critical.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the science of ice damming because Greg doing all the roofs that he does and you coming in and doing the science part of making houses energy efficient, there's an overlap when it comes to ventilation of roof and insulation. I want to talk about if I want to actually see if you guys agree on the right way to do it, and then we'll get that going. But as far as fall checklist, so what do you recommend if a homeowner, let's say, sees some gaps, cracks, and penetrations around the outside of the house? Is it okay to buy some spray foam insulation and plug those up? What do you recommend?
Sure. The easiest way to air seal a home is to do it from the inside, not the outside. Because if you seal outside gaps, there may be areas that you may miss, whereas on the inside you can pretty much see everything. So caulks, foams, sealants, anything that creates an air barrier. Stuffing fiberglass into holes does not stop air movement. Imagine stuffing cotton into something. Air is going to move right through it. So you got to use products that don't allow air to move through.
So seal the air.
Yeah.
Now, I'm glad you said that because when I used to watch window installers back in the day, they'd lightly stuff insulation between the jamb and the outer and the wall.
Yeah.
Today, they use we obviously don't want the high expanding foam because that'll hurt the window. But low expanding foam, but that's an air seal.
Yeah. Imagine a knitted sweater. Okay. Right. A knitted sweater is going to keep you warm until you walk outside in the big house. The wind blows through it. Right. It's air permeable. Air can move right through it. So I don't care how thick the sweater is. Air is going to move through it. Now you put a windbreaker on that same knitted sweater. Now you've created an air barrier and the sweater works. So when you take fiberglass or cotton or any of these fiber-based insulations and you try and use it to stop air movement, it's not going to work. You have to have an air barrier, and that's where the spray foams and the caulks are so critical.
Okay, but there is some good uses of fiberglass.
Oh, absolutely. You just have to have an air barrier. You have to stop air from penetrating through it.
Right.
That's the most important part.
Anyways, we're talking about saving energy for your house. We're outside. We're looking at penetrations, gaps and cracks. We're looking at your roof. Alex, is there anything else on the outside of the house that people should be looking for?
Well, drainage, I would say, is another important thing. Fall, rain. We don't want any water intrusion into the basements and our crawl spaces, things like that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So, Alex, how much does a chimney, an old school chimney that's like, just a wood burner, affect the draw of hot heat coming out of a house?
Major contributor. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just a chimney effect. And it will create comfort issues throughout the whole house.
Because it sucks air out, right?
Yep. Wood burning fireplaces need oxygen to burn. For the wood needs, the fire needs oxygen to burn. So it's going to actually create a negative pressure in the whole house and to feed that fire. And then that heat just rises right up through the chimney. So it's great for ambiance, but not really an efficient way to heat a home.
So would you recommend if a homeowner has a wood burning fireplace to go and convert it to gas?
Well, I mean, there's pros and cons to everything. It's all about where it's getting its makeup air. So, some fireboxes actually have a fresh air intake from the side of it. So it pulls outside air into the firebox, support combustion, and then it goes out through the chimney, as opposed to pulling it from the house into the firebox. So that's what's important.
Okay. I wasn't sure. And, that's the reason why I ask all that stuff. So the thing is years ago, they started to say, oh, the houses are too loose, let's tighten them up. And then they started to make the houses too tight, right, which then caused what I'll say a respiratory issue for a house. And Alex, that you got to bring in fresh air. You got to balance that.
Well, that's the concern we get with most customers is, are we going to make the house too tight? There's never too tight of a home. You can make a house extremely tight. That's what we're trying to do. But bring the proper amount of fresh air into the system, condition it, filter it, distribute it evenly, and dehumidify. So that's what's important. Is I want to control where air infiltrations come from. I don't want dirty attic air coming in, crawl space air, outside air coming in. I want to control that environment, seal it up as tight as possible, but then mechanically bring it in.
So when the furnace turns on to heat the house and it's a tight house, the air that it's using to combust is being brought in on purpose from certain areas, so that way it doesn't cause an unbalance.
Yeah, we have two systems. We have combustion air coming in to support our heating and cooling systems, but we also have fresh air intakes to help support life inside
right.
the building. The occupants of the home. We want to make sure that we're leaving a healthy, safe environment.
Okay, and so let's just, for a homeowner listening right now, I'm like, okay, I need those two things that Adam and Alex just talked about. So what is makeup air?
Yeah, makeup air. Yeah,
and that's like a scuttle.
Yeah, it's a crude way to get fresh air in, but it's basically a vent from outside that goes into your return duct if you have a forced air system.
Sure.
So when the furnace kicks on, it draws air from inside into the return, which then the furnace then circulates, heats up, filters, and distributes it. Yeah, that's a simple way to bring in that fresh air.
Okay, and anybody can have that done if they need that.
Yeah, the building code requires it now. So
okay, but any older home needs that.
Yeah, usually when you upgrade your furnace and things like that.
So if someone's listening today and they're like, okay, I don't need a roof, but I want insulation. I want, to save energy with what Adam and Greg and Alex are talking about. They can call you, and you can do what we'll call like a roadmap or an energy audit.
Mm-hmm.
But you go out, at this point, I'm not saying don't get an energy audit for people, because I still think, if someone wants the validation, do it. But I got to assume, and I'm going to gamble on this for a minute, that you can walk into any house, and after 10, 15 minutes, you could probably tell them the 5 things that they need to do right away.
Yeah, doing so many of these, it's kind of cut and dry. I mean, there's some houses where there's a lot of areas that are inaccessible, so we have to make some predictive assessments. But I would say, 75% of our customers, they don't necessarily have an audit done or an assessment done.
Right.
We just do a visual inspection of the home, and we can identify those low-hanging things that can be addressed.
Alex, let me ask you a question. So homeowner calls up and they want to save energy, and you go out there and you do a visual. You go in the attic, right?
Yeah, that's the only way to do it. Yeah,
Okay.
You got to physically get up there.
So how often, and this is where, the roofing business, because this is like the number one request higher done gets, right? Because this is not a do-it-yourself project most of the time, 99% of the time. How often do you go into an attic and you see like insulation in a mound in the center, not spread out evenly, or the gable vents or the soffit vents are plugged, and it's just a mess and a wreck?
I would say the majority of the houses, ventilation is blocked. You don't have even insulation, under-insulated, contaminated insulation. The bathroom fans are never venting out through the roof. There's no soffit baffling. The attic access hatch is just a thin piece of plywood separating the house from the... Think about that. You have an exterior... Your attic is outside. The attic should be within 10 degrees of the outside. So our doors and windows are weather stripped and insulated to keep the outside out and the inside in. So the attic access hatch is connecting to the outside. And we just have a piece of plywood sitting
or a
on
half-inch
trim.
piece of drywall on there.
Right.
That every day.
Ice damming is a critical side effect of either bad ventilation and bad weather, and sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with a brand new roof. Is it fair to say that way?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So let's first define ice damming for the listener. Greg, why don't you take a shot at it?
Okay, yeah, for sure. So ice damming is where you have the heat loss from the house hits the bottom of the roof deck. You have 12 inches of snow on your roof, and then what ends up happening is it goes down to the lowest point where your wall and your roof meet. Ice is up, and then the next morning the sun comes out, melts it, and just comes in your house. So
Correct.
it's where a lot of heat loss, improper insulation and ventilation. Which
And the
causes it.
homeowners think, oh, I've got ice and water shield, and that's supposed to stop that.
Yeah, until 1994, we'd never seen anything like this, and I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to be right in the middle of it. So we got them calls.
I remember.
You just put a roof on. I've been in this house for 30 years and never had a problem before. So we had to quickly get educated on what was going on and what was how to prevent this and what was going on. We found out everybody got into the vinyl window craze went on there for a while, and we put the new windows, and so we took the single pane windows out, we put the double pane windows, and we sealed these houses up, but we didn't do anything with the attic or the ventilation. Right. So because just for the lack of not knowing, and then we quickly found out that we have to do something to fix this and correct it. So we knew that it was the proper intake, proper exhaust, and proper insulation, and then as well as venting the bathrooms and kitchens.
So the roofing manufacturers got involved, and they knew. And then the science that validates everything is where Alex comes in. So, Alex, do you agree with his assessment of ice damming?
Yeah, absolutely. It's
So the solution, okay, because you can put a brand new roof on. You have a 3-foot overhang, right? And it's ventilated properly. However, the 3-foot overhang is 3 foot on the other side of the heated wall, right? So ice builds up, it melts, and then it goes back up under the shingles. What's the solution, Alex?
So there's many facets to this, and this is what's important is identifying it's not just an individual component, it's a system. So you have your insulation, you have your ventilation, you have your exhausts, but you also have air infiltration. Air infiltration is one of the leading causes of excessive heat buildup in an attic space. So we're talking wintertime conditions, your furnace is running, you're trying to pump more moisture in the air because it's dry out. So you're running your humidifier. You have a great temperature differential between inside and out so that for Furnace is running and running and running. The warm air rises in a home, just like in a hot air balloon. Okay, and there's penetrations within the ceiling line that allow warm air and
Recessed
vapor.
lights.
Recessed lights, attic access hatches, partition walls, electrical
Exhaust
plumbing,
fans, anything.
penetration. Yep. It allows all that warm, moist air into the attic space. And now we have to, it permeates through the insulation that's up there. Fiberglass, cellulose, cotton, balsam wool, all these fiber-based
It's
insulation
going to migrate through.
is going to penetrate through. So the ventilation is designed to expel that. Ventilation, though, static ventilation, soffit, ridge vent, can vent, gable vents, all these rely on a pressure imbalance between inside and out, airflow. Without that, that moisture and heat that's getting in the attic can overwhelm the ventilation, especially if it's blocked or if it's improper. So what we need to do is, one, make sure that the ventilation is completely open and it's balanced. Imagine a drinking straw. Okay, you got two ends to a straw. You blow into the straw for a bit of air going in and say a bit of air is leaving. If you plug half of either end of the straw, what did you do to the airflow through that straw? You dramatically changed it. So when you have soffit or ridge vent, it has to be balanced. Geometries of roofs, the architects, they put all these fancy hips and gables and things like that. You may not be able to get proper ventilation.
That's true.
So what's important is that we properly air seal the ceiling line first. Go through, find all the penetrations, seal them up. Stop that warm, moist air from getting into the attic in the first place, right?
So that's one. That's step one. And Greg, because you're Owens Corning certified in the insulation part of it, doesn't Owens Corning make a like if you have a recessed can?
They do.
They make a can seal thing.
And for the hatch as well. So
You,
I mean,
and you use those.
yes, we do. And we what's also is whole house fans. We see this a lot where, you know, they put a new insulation in there. It's R49. They have the baffles. Everything's great. And then you walk in the house and you see a whole house fan. You're like, whoa, what's going on here? They can't figure out why the roof's ice damming. Well, you're just dumping all this heat. You know, they crank it up.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like 80 degrees in their house, and then all that heat is hitting that whole house fan going right to the attic. So, yeah, I mean, it's a complete system, and that's why we do the complete system selling.
So you both complimented that point. He said it's a complete system.
It
You do.
is.
So that's
it's not
why
just buying shingles. That's why we've been saying this for the last 20 years. When somebody buys a roof with Tittle Brothers, yeah, you're buying a complete system from a manufacturer.
Let me ask you a question that just came in. And this,
Sure.
This is it has to do with GAF.
Okay. Yeah, I know GF for a while.
Right. You were one of their best guys for a long, long time.
For sure.
Does Tittle Brothers still warranty their old GAF roofs now that they only install Owens Corning?
Of course, 100%.
Right.
Yeah, that
20 years ago, you put a roof on. They got a problem. They're going to call you. You're going to take care
The
of it.
great thing is you have the warranty from the manufacturer. So
But you'll honor it.
I'll honor it all day long.
100%.
We're there 6 days a week. Come on in and see us.
Because I know for a fact that GAF is sorry that you're not doing their roofs.
You know,
It
it's
happens.
business, right? But
Well, listen,
Owens
Owens
Corning is a
Corning.
great product, and we're very proud of it. Everybody knows the Pink Panther, so we fly the flag.
That's a good. Listen,
Well-
you've done a great job.
Owens Corning is a very, very strict on who they allow to be platinum contractor. That's why there's only a handful of them. So
Right.
you have to be
earn that. It's not
you
like
have-
it by buy. You can't buy it.
Listen, everybody can tell you how great they are
Mhm.
and tell you how good their company is, you know, but the proof's in the pudding. So, you know, we're platinum for a reason.
No, and I appreciate that. And that's one of the reasons hired done contractors. If you enter into the roofing category, you have to be certified at the highest level from any of the
Correct.
manufacturers. That way, we don't have any issues.
Right.
And by the way, roofing, we do more roofing through hired done, and you can testify
Yeah,
to this
that's true.
than anyone else around. So we did over 30,000 squares this year. We keep track.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, no, it's
so we got it. But
we
here,
get a
let
lot.
me ask you: if anyone has a question about building science or roofing right now, or anything around your house, text us 97136. Here's one I want to talk, and let's see if we can answer it together. Adam, what is the deal with gable vents? Should they be covered up with a new roof or left open? I've heard both sides. So let's define first. A gable vent is on the side of the house, right? At the peak on the side, you see the little slats, and that's a gable vent. Now, on a roof, at the very peak, we have a ridge vent, right? And some of them have ridge vents and some have can vents, which are off the backside.
Right.
And then you have at the overhangs, we call a soffit vent. So soffit, gable, ridge. Those are the vents in a house that for the roof. If you have a gable vent and you have ridge vent, good or bad, Alex?
Well, it's bad.
Okay.
Long and short, yeah, it's bad.
So you don't get rid of the ridge, you get rid of the gable.
Yeah, you keep the ridge. You want low venting and you want high venting. You want a balance of the two.
And that allows the air from the soffit to go travel up
Right.
out the tip of the roof.
We love to have continuous venting on high and low so that we get a complete washout of any, when I say washout, ventilation of the heat and moisture through the whole attic and not just a spot area. And that's what gable vents end up doing is they short circuit that flow. And they kind of create a whirlwind. We'll do inspections where there will be mold all around the gable vent. It's amazing. I mean, you can see directly outside, and then there's just mold everywhere around it. And it's because of that. It doesn't ventilate the moisture out. It just spins it around inside the attic.
Okay, so Greg, you go to a homeowner and you say, Mrs. Homeowner, you have a gable vent. We're going to have to plug it.
So yeah, this is kind of a double. We have to really clarify. When you need to close the gable vents, and you have to have the proper intake air.
Yep.
So what we want to do is we want to force that ridge vent to pull from the lowest point to circulate the air from bottom to top.
So you want to draw it through.
Because otherwise, the ridge vent is going to pull from the easiest source of air it can. So being the gable vents being right there and by it, that ridge vent will actually pull from the gable vents as opposed to...
And it becomes like a cyclonic
So what we
effect.
want to do is close them up as long as you have the proper intake air. Close them up, and then you have continuous soft vents.
Is there a formula to know the proper amount?
Yes, there is. Yes,
So
there
you
is.
have you follow whatever
We do. Yes.
Okay. Which
And a lot
makes
of the
sense.
cities around town will follow up, and if you're not doing the proper ventilation, they'll make you do the proper
All right.
ventilation. So
That's what I thought. All right, we're going to take a quick break, folks. When we come back, more roofing science, a couple charities we want to talk about. I'm Adam Helfman. You're listening to Hire It Done, 97.1, The Ticket.